We do have the Fort St. John Women's Resource Centre 2018 homeless count. Fallon Stutenberg and Amanda Trotter are both here if you're ready. We'll go early. Perfect, thanks. Come on up. Welcome.
Hello.
Thank you, Your Worship.
Madam Mayor and Council, thank you for having us here to talk about the upcoming homeless count taking place on Wednesday, April 18th of 2018. My name is Fallon Stoutenberg, and I'm here with Amanda Trotter. I'm the Outreach and Housing Coordinator for the Society, and Amanda is our Executive Director, and I am taking over this year's homeless count. So on Wednesday, April 18th, 2018, Fort St. John will undergo its first ever homeless count in the community. In partnership with the Homelessness Services Association of BC, the Fort St. John Women's Resource Society has been chosen to coordinate the count and is one of 12 communities across British Columbia that will participate in the province-wide count to occur during March 1st and April 30th. The province of BC's role in the count is to ensure that the point-in-time methodology is being used consistently in the communities undergoing the count. The homeless count is to occur during a 24-hour period beginning the night before April 18th and will include counts in shelters, RCMP holding cells, hospitals, and other well-known places where at-risk individuals stay overnight. During the day, the same procedure will occur with mechanisms in place to avoid duplicating persons who have already been counted. Each person counted will be asked to complete a survey with a trained volunteer about their living situation. The purpose of the count is to highlight needs within the local community, to identify needs for at-risk individuals that could be a potential avenue for future funding sources for service providers. This will also aid the provincial government to know what kinds of services are being utilized in our local community. Our statistical data at the Fort St. John Women's Resource Society is only a partial tool to identify the needs of our clients. The survey is designed to have further detail of what barriers at-risk individuals face. Data collected from the count will be sent off-site to be analyzed, with full results being available publicly within a few months after the count is completed. The count will occur throughout various places within the community of Fort St. John. The Fort St. John Women's Resource Society are in search of volunteers for this event. Each volunteer must be available the day of the count and a training day on Tuesday, April 10th in the evening. A survey has been created to best identify the commitments of each volunteer, and that survey link can be directed to myself, and I can give that out to participants that are interested. We're asking for the City of Fort St. John's partnership and support in this important project. And that's that.
Fabulous.
Questions?
Oh, yes.
All right.
So when you say you would like our support, what kind of partnership support are you asking us for? So are you looking for volunteers to assist?
We're looking for volunteers. We just want the city's backing to help support this project. We wanted to approach you guys first to let you guys know that the count was undergoing, but unfortunately time restraints and us being aware of the count by the Homelessness Services Association, it didn't quite work out, and we wanted to do the media release prior to that, which is why we're here today.
Perfect. So how did Fort St. John get chosen? You mentioned in here, and the letter does say, if anyone's looking at the agenda, that Fort St. John was chosen to be one of the 12 communities across BC. So how did we get chosen? Is it a random?
It's not exactly random. We were having discussions with Urban Systems and Urban Matters 2 months ago, hey? And we were discussing the possibility of doing it last year just on our own because we recognize the importance of having that statistical data. And we had mentioned that to Urban Matters, and they're in partnership with the Homelessness Services Association. So they had made it known that we were familiar with the point-in-time methodology. So it was with us, and there was a couple other communities that weren't disclosed to us with which ones they wanted to choose. So they ended up choosing Fort St. John, which is very exciting because we recognize the importance of having that statistical data. So yeah.
So a couple things. You talk about doing this at different agencies like the hospital, RCMP holding cells, and other, you said, well-known places where at-risk individuals stay overnight. So over the years, we've known that people have stayed in homes of friends or whatever the case may be, are some of those places, a lot of them are well known to agencies probably like yourself. Is that a place you're going to be?
Yeah, so it's tricky. It's called hidden homelessness. So that would be people that are crushing on people's couches and stuff like that, and not necessarily staying in shelters. We're quite aware of a lot of our clients' living situations. So during the day, we're planning on having what's called a magnet event, which could be a barbecue or something like that, just to draw the attention of those that we recognize are either hidden homeless or homeless, and that we missed in the overnight count, to have them come out to that event, so we can count them and have them fill out these surveys with us.
So Friendship Center is involved in this as well?
Yeah, so we've reached out to a couple different of our partner service providers, RCMP's included in that, just so that they're aware of the count. The Friendship Center I spoke to here a couple weeks ago. The tricky part with that is right now that they're doing their daily breakfast at the Friendship Center, and when it warms up, they do their food bus, which is in one of the parking lots in town. So that depends on when we're doing our routes for our volunteers to go out and count, which location that we're going to be choosing. So I'm in touch with Anita, and Anita will let me know once she knows when they're going to be out and about in the community, or if they're going to be staying at the Friendship Center.
Excellent. So this is data that we need to have.
You bet.
Not just we as in agencies that provide services, but we as in a community, and how do we move forward. What the CDI is doing for the community at the Forge, this is information that needs to feed into that foundational data for our community. So can we just ask you to make sure that we're provided with that information?
For sure. So the way, after the count's conducted, I send the results back to the Homelessness Services Association of BC, and they send it to an off-site person, and they take it with the other 12 communities that are also doing the count, and they put it in fancy pie charts and stuff like that, and then they release it a couple months after the count. So once I have my hands on that information, it will certainly be shared with the city.
So will we have just Fort St. John information, or are they going to put it into the big picture?
I don't know what that looks like. I would imagine that, we'll obviously have Fort St. John's information from the information that we're doing with our volunteers, but it'll be released provincial-wide as well to include those 12 other communities.
If there's a way of indicating to them that we would really like to get the results of our own information in those fancy pie charts, that might be nice.
You
Like
bet.
in a way that we can understand the issue a lot better in our community.
For sure. And the way that the survey is designed, I took a couple sample questions from the survey that I've been given. So we do screening questions to ensure that nobody's being duplicated. So those are pretty basic questions. So the day of the count, each volunteer is going to be wearing a sticker or a pin. So the first question is, have you already answered a survey with someone wearing this pin or sticker? And then you carry on, have you answered a survey in the last 6 weeks? In the event that someone's already done one in, say, Prince George or Prince Rupert, and that they're temporarily staying in Fort St. John. So in that case, they wouldn't be counted. A place to stay where they pay rent, that kind of thing. And then further questions, carrying on if they haven't already answered the survey, is how long have they been homeless? What's their income source? Stuff like if they're a Canadian citizen, how long they've been in Canada, if they are an immigrant, if they have any health challenges and barriers that prevent them from finding their own place. So it's pretty in-depth. Obviously, each person that we're asking to fill out this survey, it's by they're doing it on a volunteer basis. So if they're uncomfortable with the questions, then they can end the survey at any time. And then at least we're counting their head and if they're a male or female.
Sure. For sure.
Your Worship, if I can interject, we fully understand the importance of this data in terms of it tying up with the work that the CDI has done. We've read the initial report, and some of the information is really quite brilliant. We're very supportive of us having hard data. And in fact, I'm more than happy to actually ask if a presentation could be done specifically to Council on the data once it's done.
And it would be nice at that time to have the CDI in in the gallery or to hear it as well.
Yeah.
That would be good.
We will be, if we may, we will liaise with your staff.
Sure, absolutely.
Thank you,
So a
ma'am.
couple of councillors here with some comments or questions. Councillor Clausen.
Thanks, Your Worship. I'm amazed and somewhat distressed at the number of high school students that would classify themselves as homeless. I'm just wondering if I don't know if there's a minimum age for filling out this survey and the whole privacy thing and underage thing, but I just didn't know if there was conversations with the school district to be able to either post one of these posters that you got there in the high school, because I know that the percentage of kids that are just kind of doing the couch surfing thing is quite astonishing.
Yeah.
And so, probably a good number to include if we could. And just one question, you talked about the volunteers and the survey's been created, and I know you mentioned something about getting a hold. Is there somewhere, if a volunteer is interested, are they supposed to contact you just by calling or emailing? Is that?
Yep, so they could call the office or they could email myself, and there's a SurveyMonkey link, so I could send that to them. It's also posted on Alaska Highway News, Energetic City, but of course, if they email me directly, I can send that to them. Just touching on the point with the school district, it's not a connection that I've made directly, but it is certainly something that I appreciate you bringing up, and that I can make that connection with the school district as well.
Perfect, thank you.
Excellent, thank you. Councillor Hanson.
Thank you, Your Worship. I was wondering, will the volunteers that are participating in the survey, will they be given like an information sheet with contact info? So if there's an issue identified by the person filling out the questionnaire, so that they will have further direction or where to send the person, or like?
Yeah, so are you talking like throughout the day of the count?
Yeah, the day of the count. Will they have a quick reference sheet, a guide to say if the person who's answering the questionnaire, if they identify a need or a concern, instead of just saying, I have concerns about my feet or something like that. Will the volunteers be given a quick reference sheet to say, this is, I'm sorry to hear that, have you been in contact with this organization or this person to help you with your need?
Yeah, that's an excellent point. So each volunteer is going to undergo training that's going to take place on April 10th. So part of that training is to give them the tools that they need, such as surveys, information, and barriers that they might come across, because obviously some people are harder to approach than others. With that, the Peace Project, we had done up a list of resources that we will pass along to our volunteers as well. So the idea with the volunteers is a lot of them, of course, have never dealt with homelessness before, and giving them that information, of course, to refer to organizations that can help them. That's the idea as well.
That's great. That's a huge benefit right there.
For sure.
In addition, Councillor, on the day of the count, we will basically have our headquarters based in the Healing Place, which is part of the Women's Resource Society, and we will have people in there 24 hours over that period. Okay. So if people wanted to come in or ask questions, or people on the street who were doing the count had problems and wanted to verify things, they could telephone those headquarters, and there would be somebody there and somebody on the phones and available.
Okay. And they probably already have a connection as well, too. So there's that trust.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Good, thank you. City Manager?
Thank you, Your Worship, and thank you. I agree with the comments made about the crucial nature of having this information. So going to the volunteers, how many do you need? Will the volunteers be working in shifts? So is it a 2-hour shift, 4-hour shift, 12-hour shift? And is there a buddy system? So I'm just kind of get a sense from the volunteers.
So you nailed it right on the head there. 2 hours is going to be the shifts. So the night before the count on April 17th, we're going to be starting at 6 p.m. So 6 to 9, and we're going to pair people in twos. So right now we're sitting at about 18 volunteers. It's hard to say how many volunteers we're going to need exactly. So right now I'm in the process of identifying routes for the volunteers to go out and survey those clients. Obviously those routes are going to be doubled up throughout the entirety of the count. So Yeah, they'll be paired in twos, and it'll be 2-hour shifts throughout the entire day on April 18th, and then starting at 6 p.m. the night of the night of the count, and then going up to, I believe, midnight the night of the count.
So from what I gather, just from the numbers, you'll need a bit of an army of volunteers in
A
order
little
for this
bit,
to
yes.
be effective.
Yeah, there are some volunteers. Part of the survey is to indicate what timeframes they would prefer, what their availability is like, as well as how many shifts that they're willing to take on. So some of our volunteers have indicated that they're willing to take on 2 to 3 shifts. So that is very helpful to us.
Okay, great.
We
Thank you.
certainly would like to make an appeal that we need a lot more volunteers. We want to do this extremely thoroughly.
Yeah.
Maybe we can get it out to our staff, just to
Well,
give them.
and certainly we can probably
Get the information
promote it,
out.
we even help you promote it within the community.
We would very much appreciate that. Thank you.
It's what I heard you say, you needed 2 things from the city. One was volunteers and the other was moral support, right? Or just
Right.
Okay.
And our permission would like to let you know that we would like to do this, please. Although it's retrospective now because we had to kind of jump the gun a little bit, but that was our intention.
Oh, okay, I hear you. You know what? It needs to happen, and we need the
you.
information. So thank you for being proactive in doing this. You ladies always amaze me with what you do. So
Thank you.
appreciate it. And I just want to be upfront here. Fallon, congratulations on your appointment
Thank
through
you.
Scouts Canada. For a lot of people, if you're not aware, Fallon has just been named the team lead for volunteer services for Scouts Canada's Northern and Yukon geographic area, Cascadia.
Yes.
So the work that you do in the community and the work that you're doing in Scouts, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Ladies, thank you. We'll get it out, and thank you for doing this.
Thank you so much.
Your worship, councillors, thank you very, very much. Thank you for your support.
Always.
And the city workers too. Thank you.
Thank you.